So we are almost ready to start. In a few minutes, we will begin the event.
Okay, I think that we are ready to start. So first of all, I would like to welcome you all, both the people here present in this room, and as well as all the participants online. And you know that this is a roundtable which marks, let's say, the launch of this freshly released report on commercial urban farming that has been funded and supported by the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development and by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. Today we have more than 100 participants registered, so we are quite happy about this. And my name is Giuseppina Brennisi. I'm a junior assistant professor at the Department of Agricultural and Food Sciences of the University of Bologna. And it's my pleasure to be, let's say, the chair of this event. And indeed, I was part of this of the team coordinated by Orsini, who performed the study together with other researchers from the University of Bologna, but not only from UNIBO, because this work is also the result of an international collaboration, which also involved the researchers from the Wageningen University and Research from the Netherlands, from the University of Liège from Spain, from France, and from the Autonomous University of Barcelona from Spain, and from the Swedish Environmental Research Institute from Sweden. And I do not want to take any additional time on the contents of the roundtable, but just to give you a general overview on how we will manage these 2 hours together. So basically, we will start from an open ceremony which will include representatives from our university, as well as an introduction by EBRD and FAO on, let's say, the general commitment and support for sustainable food system development. And then we will start talking about the report, and we will have 2 presentations on the general contents of the work, as well as about the main findings of the study. And then we will move to the next section, which will contain 5 brief presentations about specific contents of the report. And finally, in the last 30 minutes, we will have a question and answer section, and where all the public attending the event can participate. And for those following online, we ask to put the questions in the chat, and we will manage them the section. And before to start, just a technical remark. The event will be registered, and we will take some pictures both online, I think, and in presence. So it's all from my side, and we can start with the session. And I have the pleasure to introduce you the rector of the University of Bologna, Professor Giovanni Molari.
Thank you, Giuseppina. Welcome to everyone. It is a great pleasure for me to be here today for different reasons. The first, I am professor of the Department of Agricultural Food Sciences and former director of the department for the one. And now rector of the university for the first time in the history of the University of Bologna. After 936 years, we have a director coming from the Department of Agriculture and Food Science. That is an important fact, because it represents the importance of our department of the agriculture in the University of Bologna, because in 900 years there wasn't a rector from this department. There is a reason. And for me, it's an honor and a pleasure to represent the department, our history, in the history of the University of Bologna. Welcome to everyone. I am honored to open this round table, understanding commercial urban agriculture, that is important and represent the trend of growing sector in our area, also compromising technologies. And I think that is important for different aspects. In particular, that is important to represent, to study, to work on new technology and growing sector. But also it's important the connection between research, teaching activities, because all these aspects were represented in our courses, and also the connection with companies and the private sector, because I think that is important also to work on sustainability, because we have a lot of problems, and this is one of the main subjects that we study in this area. I wish to extend my gratitude to FAO and EBRD for make this record possible. And I think that we can continue in this way. Our students, our professor work very well in the connection of Europe, not only, because that is we can do an example, we can make an example of what we do on the sector of urban agriculture. And for this reason, I would like to thank Francesco, the team, and all the group that work on this area. Unfortunately, I cannot stay here with you for this day, but very happy to start this event. Giovanni and Francesco will follow the rest of the day. Thank you very much, and good work for today. I hope that you will have also the opportunity to visit our facilities, our university, the center, our main building, completely renewed now. It's not far from here. We have the opportunity to visit the university. I will be here for the next day. Thank you very much, and good morning.
Yeah, we planned the visit with EBRD and the FAO for this afternoon to our department. So yeah, we will be there. And so thank you very much. And it's time to give the words to the director of our department, also from the Department of Agricultural Sciences, to Professor Giovanni Di Lelli.
Thank you very much. It's an honor and privilege for me to be here introducing this roundtable about commercial urban farming. And as a director of the Department of Agricultural Science of the University of Bologna, which is one of the, probably is the big department of agricultural sciences in Italy, as concerned about the number of professors, but also the number of projects that each year we won. Francesco is one of our best representatives as concerned the number of projects. And we are constantly here in wonderful places, because this is a little treasure, because this is a treasure of the Barocco epoca era. And as you can see here, the painting of Giovanni Monti, and he's a very famous painter of the Barocco age. And it is a pleasure for me to be here because I guess that you have to face a problem that is a big problem, no? Because a city continues to grow, the need for sustainable food production within urban environment becomes increasingly important. Urban agriculture not only addresses food security issue, but also enhance community well-being by connecting people to the land. It fosters resilience, reducing the carbon footprint associated with food transportation and encouraging local food systems. So that are, I guess, the main issues now. And it's funny because I guess that you are facing, or we are facing, and you have to try to solve a quite old and long-lasting problem. Because, for example, I found that in the Re Natura was written by Lucretius, a Roman poet and philosopher. In Re Natura is dated something like 65 before Christ, and he described the famine and the difficulty of the people to face when resources are scarce in the Roman time. So, and another pertinent quote comes from the satire of Juvenal. Juvenal was a Roman satirical poet, and the satire are dated 100 after Christ, and complain about the scarcity and difficulty of supplying the city in the period of the Roman age. So I guess that after 2000 years, we are still facing the same problem: how to feed the town in a sustainable way. So I guess that I hope that the discussion and side gain here will drive meaningful change and support the growth of urban agriculture worldwide, not only in Europe. And thank you for your attention, and I wish you a fruitful exchange of ideas and experiences here in this roundtable. Thank you very much.
I'm of Wafa Mekuri from the FAO Investment Center.
Thank you, Josefina. Thank you all. Esteemed Rector Nicolai and Director Dinelli, and esteemed professors, all the colleagues who are with us today, both from EBRD, from FAO, and from the academic community. So we're really very happy to be here. First of all, let me thank the University of Bologna for hosting us here in this wonderful place. Not only so, but I think the whole university is really a beautiful place. And this place has also hosted for 1,000 years, I understand, so many brains with the students, young people, old people, all kinds of discussions to enhance knowledge, both at the individual level, but also at the national level. So we're really very proud and happy and honored to be here. Since its foundation around 8 years ago, FAO has always been mandated to achieve food security to all and to ensure that people have regular access to sufficient, high-quality food and live and lead active and healthy lives. However, while maintaining environmental sustainability and social inclusion to all. So FAO remains committed to explore new opportunities and approaches and technologies that could enhance our support to our 195 member countries and their agri-food sector and their communities. To this end, we thank our friends and partners in EBRD who have been working with for over 28 years, very solidly and good partnerships. And we have invested in a better understanding how urban agriculture and its commercial applications have evolved and its role in driving innovation and potentially disruptive food production system. This sector is demonstrating unprecedented results in terms of production, quality, and its role in shaping the supply chain. It's very important as we have heard. Over the last 2 decades, commercial urban agriculture has evolved from a niche interest into a dynamic sector, attracting significant investments with implications both for food systems and the broader industries such as pharmaceuticals, which is now expanding in this area. Now, the research and collaboration over the past few years with the esteemed institutions like the University of Bologna, Barberia University, and research at the University of Liège, for example, have demonstrated the potential benefits of advanced commercial urban farms, including through high yields, reduced land use, and improved water efficiency, among other benefits. Nonetheless, and this is where we are here to discuss, as our colleagues will soon discuss, the sector is at its critical juncture. In fact, on one hand, the sector has proven to be to have its high capacity to produce good quality products that have found their place in high-end markets and supermarket shelves, with a positive element of productivity, especially in terms of water use, so production per drop of water. But on the other hand, we still have a high operating cost, and this is something that we should be discussing. High operational costs, greenhouse gas emissions, and limited market for premium priced products. And these are all obstacles that we need to think about. The vertical farming, in particular, relies on intensive energy and skilled labor. And both of these, the cost of energy and the cost of labor, is still very high. And this is an area where we really think improvements could come up. So our colleagues during the coming session will guide you through the various dimensions of the sector, highlighting the areas with great potential and those where we can have some further adjustments. In conclusion, I would like to thank the University of Bologna for this hosting this very important dialogue. I think this is a dialogue, and that's the most important thing. It's not something that is imposed by one or by the other, but we need to dialogue around it. And we extend our gratitude to all those who contributed to the study. And these are really a lot for the study and the report. So we have with us today a very small fraction of those who contributed, but we would like to thank many universities who were part of it, researchers, city councils, bankers, companies, experts, practitioners, specialists, and over 2,000 viewers who engaged in the e-dialogue recordings, and an important thing to all to support the global advancing the sustainable agriculture system. So thank you again. Director and our directors, the director and director, thank you again for all those who organized. And I will pass the floor to the speaker again and to the other class.
Let's pass the floor to Irina Shikacci, Head of Corporate Sector Advisory of the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. It's really an honor to be here with you in this wonderful room. I never recommended, but I feel better that I'm feeling online because it is really a great setting. So today we are here to launch this study. For us, it has been a privilege because as a bank and a financing institution, what we do is to finance projects that are profitable, commercially sustainable. And also we have this target to spur innovation in the region where we work. At the EBRD, we are present in 40+ countries, and we do directly support companies of private sector in our region that follow what we would like to see happening in this food system. So the food security aspect and the sustainability aspect. We started this journey with all of you to really understand which were the opportunities and how we could bring the practices that we see in countries such as Italy or advanced countries to our countries of operation, which sometimes lag behind. And we thought really urban farming was not only interesting, but also something that will bring us a little bit to the future. And we see that in our region, there are a lot of possibilities in Estonia, Hungary, Poland, Slovenia, Slovak Republic, Turkey, Czechia. However, the readiness for investment is not there yet. So we partner with smart people at the university that use data and actually have time to really think through how to make the system work. With the FAO that works with policy leaders that could actually spur this change, and with our bankers. I'm here with those that EBRD actually leads our investment in agriculture, biotech, and donuts here in the first rows. And with Ellie, who works on advisory and technical components that are very important to support this investment and the rating of this investment. So everything that we've done, the dialogues, the studies, it's actually a portion of the new strategy of EBRD that we launched yesterday on our website. So if you're interested, there is a link, ebrd.com, and you can see there is a map on the readiness of investment where also urban farming has been summarized. And there is also, unfortunately, only one slide of urban farming, but because the sector is so wide and the launches are so different, that really helped us frame the idea of urban farming in the strategy and at the strategic level at the bank. So this type of setting and these dialogues then have the relevance for our investment. And it's very important when we do it for the people on the ground that can experiment a lab, that have farm that potentially at this point in time are not commercial, but showcase the technology and the possibilities to actually do something different. So with this approach, we come here to reinforce this dialogue, and we are very thankful for the study itself. But we don't want to just have a study to put on the shelf. What we really would like to do is to find that 1, 2, 3 investment that we could actually do and bring all this theory into the countries where, unfortunately, yet there is no opportunity. This is a bit the spirit of the dialogue for us, and I want to thank everyone that was involved. There were a lot of people, the numbers are incredible. So thank you very much, and thank you for having us here.
Thank you very much, all of you, for being here with us. And so I think that we can move to the technical part now. It's time to talk about our studies, time to talk about the report. And so I think that I'll call here on the floor Professor Orsini and Jacopo Montini for the next part of the round table. We will first have an introduction by Jacopo Montini, who is the Senior Natural Resources Officer of the FAO, and he will give us a general overview of the study and of the report.
Great. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I'm very happy to see, of course, colleagues from the EMB, and very honored to have been opened by
What happened?
I'm very happy to see the students here and to see young future professionals. We are always eager to scout for new brains. I'm very happy that with Francesco we have established also very good collaboration, identifying the right people, and this report and the other ones we will be presenting in the next years with Francesco and colleagues from the EBRD has proved this. Let me, why all this flattering here? It's because I would like just to stress before giving the floor to Francesca, that this is not just, 3 people work or 4 people work. It's a work of a huge number of people. I just listed them, not all of them. But again, for me, as also the Dean mentioned, it's very important to stress on 2 points. The fact that we don't have to think in silos. So this is the core of the methodology. So instead having 2, 3 agronomists from FAO just talking about something that is too far also in time from the reality, right? We agree to sit on the back of the stage and just let all the actors do with that. And that's why we see here those that are more on the academics and the things, but again, this was the work done through companies. We work with 214 companies, tech providers, universities, investors, retailers, headhunters. Headhunters, again, this is a very important element to consider, especially for you at the beginning of your careers, because the role of people placing the right people, and these new technologies have brought a different paradigm to the equation. Because when before, what you needed is just strength in your arms and very little brain to agree to do hard work. Now, what you need is not only a degree, but it's like super specialized degree. So the amount of complexity has increased, and therefore you need a more complex also job placement in things. And we have worked extensively. We have to say, unfortunately, Europe is a bit behind. But in the United States, you have already a large number of companies that are fully dedicated in placing not only managers, but also head growers and other technicians at that level. Then again, municipalities and many others that we could not list. But we interacted with more than 95 countries, which I think is very important. Usually we think that this happened only in rich northern countries. We have an African Association of Vertical Farming. Asia is very, very developed, in many ways developed and more developed. You have countries like Singapore, the polis, I would say, that they established by law 30% of the food needs to be produced. Here's the research man, here's the envelope for the business to develop. So again, we also wanted, and you will see in the next discussion and presentation, how it's not just an entrepreneurship issue, it's an issue that involves from the preparation of the new generations of students to the logistics, markets, policy. So it needs to be addressed in a much better, so in a more comprehensive way. One last point to stress, the importance of research and development, not only from the banks, and not, of course, from the universities, but what we have seen with Francesco and colleagues from Wageningen and Liège and all the others, is that in some cases, one single company has invested more research and development in agriculture than entire countries. So no research, no development, no investment. It's a very simple paradigm. So with that, I will give back the floor to Giuseppina for the other presentations. Thank you very much.
Very much, Jacopo, and also to show us the work, part of the work that we did in the last month. So now it's the time of Francesco, Professor Francesco Ortini from the University of Bologna.
Thanks for the introduction, Giuseppina. I have the difficult task to condense results of 2 years of study in a few slides. Luckily, after me, some of the researchers engaged in the study will provide you with further details. So let's have a look at the sector. Where do we grow plants? Inside cities, we have a range of different systems, ranging from those that are based on the ground. We have open air and greenhouse in cities, but then there is also the emerging sector of building integrated agriculture, which can take place indoor, above ground, or underground, but even on rooftop buildings in open air gardens and rooftop greenhouses. We also see that along the years there has been steady at the beginning, but then exponential growth of the sector, starting from about 15 years ago, of both the urban farms that we find in cities as well as the technology providers that are enter the sector. So the main features of the sector is that it rents or leases the productive spaces in about 2/3 of the cases, and similarly, 2/3 of the cases it's working in controlled environments. 70% of the projects do not use soil, so they work on hydroponic technologies. Vertical farming is growing. It's representing about 40% of the companies that are in the market today. The surface is of at least 1,000 square meters in 4 cases out of 5. Certification is also common, also because there are some policy limitation on certifying products from urban settings, and it mostly targets local or national markets. Within the larger frame of urban farming, vertical farming is finding more and more application, also thanks to significant investments. This is the combination of 15 market studies that agree that the sector should reach about $30 billion by 2030 of global investments. And if we look at the dimensions of commercial urban agriculture, we see that there is a spatial dimension. Inside cities, we have school gardens, we have urban farms, community gardens, and then backyard gardens. But then as we move to peri-urban areas, also larger scale farms tend to emerge. The functions are varied. We move from ecological function to economic, health, and social functions. And the destination of the products is either for self-consumption, that's the case mostly in community or family gardens, or the market, where we see a larger integration of technology. From a cost component perspective, when it comes to farming companies, most of the funding comes either from venture capitals, own funding, or private investors. These costs are mainly associated with the structure when we think about high-tech systems. R&D is also representing a major component of cost and staff. This is because there is a more diversified set of competencies that are included in these technologies, in these farms, than what we normally see in traditional rural agriculture. These companies tend to request loans. 3 out of 4 normally use loans. Technical providers are slightly different. Normally, they are already established companies that move from other sectors towards urban agriculture. Costs are mostly associated to R&D, staff, as well as marketing and sales. And in this case, 1 out of 2 tends to use loans. We see also an important technology drive in innovation that comes from different research and development topics. The way the root zone is managed, genetics specifically adapted to new farming technologies, architecture and automation, lighting. Whenever we talk about indoor farming, lighting is a major topic for innovation, climate control, and the use of sensor and algorithm, as we see artificial intelligence becoming more and more important in this type of farms. And this, this allow, I don't know why it's it's not really visible, but allow to get yields that are at least doubled from those that we normally see in traditional greenhouse cultivation, and much higher than what we normally see in open field farming. Improving yield, however, comes at higher cost. These costs normally are associated with energy, in fact, more intense energy use, capital for the establishment of the system, as well as the requirement for higher skills. And we see that normally as the technology increases, the size of the farm tends to reduce. That is why, as Jacopo was introducing before, countries that are very limited land, like Singapore, are investing in this technology because it can provide very high yield on limited surface. The installation costs, as we see in the table, are high. We see a trend of increasing installation costs, but they are still elevated. And this also comes with higher running costs per unit of cultivated surface. Obviously, this, on the other hand, allows for higher returns, actually higher productivity, and requires for much higher labor requirements. So we see today 1 hectare of vertical farm on average requires for about 35 people to be engaged, as compared to the normally 10, 15 we normally see on ornamental rose production greenhouses, or 3 to 5 we might see on other vegetable crop production greenhouses. What's interesting is that soil-based agriculture in cities, although it's not really highly rentable, might provide some important benefits that are mostly associated with health, social, and therapeutic advantages for the people involved. So to summarize, we have some key challenges to get the sector to spread. We have, especially when we talk about vertical farming, energy, and human resources costs are on the high side. And the structure for implementing the system is also requiring thriving capital investments. Vertical farming is entering into the market, but there is still limited regulation, so there are no standards. And in many countries, there are no standards, and there is a need for an enabling environment. Some uncertainties are also there. This is mostly coming from the fact that vertical farming growers are not eager to share their data. This is changing now. We see, for instance, among the example that we see, the Japan Plant Factory Association is getting a lot of data released, and is allowed to better evaluate the economic sustainability of the sector. There is also some confusion about business models. Sometimes companies start as a tech provider, they want to develop their own vertical farming technology. Then they need to prove it, so they open a vertical farm, so they start selling salads or other products, but at the same time they want to sell the technology. So this is also peculiar of the sector so far, and we do not know yet the size of the market for products coming from vertical farms. However, these products are novel products. They can be highly specialized. They can differentiate from the market. They can provide for higher quality. They can provide for higher shelf life of the product, as we will see in one of the presentations about the effect associated with the integration of this technology on food waste and losses. There is room for reducing capital expenditure and operational expenditure, and we have seen this happening already along the last 10 years. These systems have demonstrated high efficiency in the use of resources like water or nutrients or land use, and they can provide for very high productivity, and they are capable to attract investments. This is something that has not been seen in recent years in other sectors of agriculture, while the investments that are coming for these new technologies minus benefit sector as a whole. So to conclude, this was already introduced by my colleagues before, but we are a big number of companies, associations, universities. We collaborated with a number of international projects and municipalities. Some of them are listed here. So thanks for your attention, and I will the floor to the next speakers.
Okay, thank you very much, Francesco. And I don't know if you can manage the chat there. Okay, so now we have 5 past presentations that will go more in depth in the contents of the report. We will start from Dr. Ing Liu from the Wageningen University and Research. She is online. Yeah, I mean, can already see. Please, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ing Liu. I'm a researcher from Wageningen University. It is a privilege to speak here today. So first, I would like to thank FAO and EBRD for inviting me, along with my colleagues, Professor Leo Marcellus and Dr. Paul Kusuma, to contribute to this very important project. Collaborating with FAO, the University of Bologna, the University of Liège, and many innovative companies has been an inspiring experience. So our contribution mainly focused on Chapter 2, the technologies in urban agriculture. In this chapter, we integrate the insights from scientific literatures and interviewed the vertical farm companies, technological providers, and consulting companies worldwide. So in Chapter 2, we discussed advancement of technology in 6 key areas: the architecture and automation, lighting, climate control, sensors and algorithms, root zones, and genetics. These technologies play a very important role in enhancing urban agriculture system, especially the vertical farms and the high-tech greenhouses. So for example, vertical farm achieve leafy green yields approximately twice as high as greenhouse and 50 times as high as open field per cultivation area. The improved climate control system now enable the precise and reliable growing environment, and the advances in LED lighting have greatly improved energy efficiency. So the next step for us as a scientist, plant scientist, is to focus how the plants can efficiently use the light. However, the challenges still persist. The vertical farm systems involve high cost. The capital expenditures for vertical farm range from 1,000 to 3,000 euro per square meter of the growing area, which is much higher than greenhouses, not to mention the open field. Then the operational costs are also very significant, like the energy and the labor being the major components, and the lighting alone accounts for the largest share of the energy consumption, and which followed by the climate control systems. But encouragingly, these costs are steadily decreasing as technology improves. And in Chapter 2, we also underscore the importance of tailoring and scaling urban agriculture systems to meet the regional needs. Like for example, the hybrid approaches which combine features of vertical farm and greenhouse systems offer promising adaptability to local markets, climates, and economic conditions. This flexibility is particularly important in regions where they are requiring more support. And the recent trends have brought additional challenges, but also opportunities. Like the energy crisis, for instance, has led to the bankruptcy of many companies, unfortunately, including the companies that we interviewed. And this underscores the need to simplify the system where possible, focusing on the cost reduction while maintaining the productivity. But on a positive note, we are also witnessing the emergence of new companies and the continued growth of resilient enterprises. This demonstrated that the vertical farm and urban agriculture in general still remain on the upward trajectory. So in conclusion, achieving the right balance between the cost, yield, and quality is essential to making urban agriculture systems scalable and sustainable. By adapting technologies to local conditions, urban agriculture can optimize resource use, deliver high yields, and improve food quality and security. With continued innovation and collaboration across diverse sectors of society, these systems hold great potential to make a meaningful impact on the sustainable food production. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Indio. And I think that we can move to the next speaker. I would like to remember that if you have a question, you can use the chat and we will have a final Q&A session. So our next speaker is Professor Aysam Jidaki from the University of Liège. And I think he prepared some slides. So I kindly ask Professor Aysam to share the screen so we can also be able to see the slides.
Hello, everybody. First of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity to present part of our work. As I can see, I prepared some slides. I sent it this morning, but I can share it if you want.
Yes, let's try if it's possible to share.
I can share it
Okay.
directly from my side.
So I think it's better, so you can change the slide when you want.
Okay. And when I do that, do you see?
Yeah, we can see your screen. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So yes, my name is Aysam Jidaki. I'm full professor at the University of Liège, and it's in Belgium. I heard at the beginning it was in France, but no, it's in Belgium. And I'm coordinating the Center of Research on Urban Agriculture. This study, we were focusing on the business models in urban and peri-urban agriculture, and it was done thanks to the work of two researchers, mainly Vicente, as you can see here, but also Nicolas Ancio. A brief presentation of our center. We are working on urban agriculture for 14 years now. We are developing several systems related to the soil, but also soilless crops. And as you can see here on this screen, we work with agroforestry, with vegetable, but also crop on mounds, and also small plot intensive farming. And we have different system, soilless system with hydroponic, with a rooftop greenhouse, for example, in the city, but also aquaponic system, and also containers to produce plant molecules. So we have the expertise in technical implementation, but we are also working with different scientific studies, and we make also economic feasibility and business model. And this is in that context that we were able to work and to identify 6 major business models during our study. It was done thanks to interviewing 24 different organizations. These models were already known, and as you can see, it's the business model based on shared economy. You can read, if you want, the main value proposition. Business model on experimental, on experience, on diversification, on differentiation, so to obtain quality of products and uniqueness of the products, and cost reduction. You see here some different concrete examples around the world in US, for example, or in France, in Belgium, and so on. And we, for each of these major business model, we were able to see the success, the factor of success, but also the key challenges, and it is in the report. But here, due to the time, we just focus on the investment requirement. It is really basic if we want to develop the different systems and different business models. You can see that share economy, experience, and diversification, we don't need to have a lot of investment, medium investment for experimental and differentiation business model, and the most expensive business model is cost reduction. You can see here also the bankability and the public investment here decrease, and we have more non-governmental organization, for example, working on shared economy. Finally, during our study and survey, we were able to highlight a new business model. It was identified, it's farm, we call it farm management. And the farm management business model is the result is implemented by experimental teams. This experimental team have a lot of expertise on building, on managing farm, and this business model consists of selling tailor-made farms and then manage them for their clients. This is the business model. Of course, we need a lot of pre-investment in research, in development before launching the company, and the purpose is commercially driven company. You have some new example here in this slide. With this, I thank you for your attention and ready for question if any at the end.
Very much, Professor Giuseppe. And okay, now it's time of Michael Martin. I don't know if Mike is connected.
Yes.
Okay, great.
So thank you for inviting me to present the work that we did on this the study of the state of the art on the environmental footprints of urban farming. And I put my name, but also my collaborators, so Marti, Francesco, Giuseppina, Pietro, and Elise on this part of the work. So what we found, we did a literature review, because what we see with urban agriculture is that there's often a lot of claims that they're sustainable or that they're better than conventional farming, etc. And we found that we wanted to look basically in the literature and see what we could find to substantiate the claims. And from our study, we reviewed the available literature on, for example, applying life cycle assessment to urban agriculture and different types that we saw Francesco presented earlier. And what we found is there was quite a few articles, but in the end, we sorted out only 42 articles at that time that were able to apply LCA. So we found that there isn't that much evidence to make a lot of claims about the sustainability of the vertical farms or any other type of urban agriculture. But it is an emerging subject of inquiry, and since we did this study, there's been a lot of papers that have been published, which is really interesting. We did also see that there's a large span of results for different production methods. So, for example, there's like lots of papers about, for example, greenhouses and rooftop greenhouses, but maybe not as many about open air systems in urban agriculture. It's also interesting because there's a diverging comprehensiveness on what they include. So we call this like the cradle to grave or cradle to gate, or like farm, either they look at farm to gate or farm to fork. So we can't always compare the results. And that is also the case when we look at the impacts or the categories or KPIs that they use. oftentimes the articles don't use the same KPIs or indicators, so we're not able to compare them directly. And that's usually due to the fact that they use different type of quantification methods, like the environmental footprint method of the EU, or recipe, or CML, etc. So we see that the KPIs are quite spread for the different indicators. And finally, we see that there's, again, less data available for traditional land-based or race-bed urban agriculture, but there have been some updates in the literature since this. And we would like to see more case studies for comparisons to give a better picture of the importance and the sustainability of urban agriculture. And while these results are really focused on environmental, the other parts of the study have also looked into social and the economic aspects, which are also very important for urban agriculture. So thank you very much.
Okay, so it's my time again. I think that it's not necessary that I lose myself again. So basically, based on what we already heard from previous presentations, we can say that urban agriculture and vertical farming can be interesting investments for developing economies like the one or emerging economies like the one where EBRD acts. But out of all the other investments, an attentive analysis should be done in order to, let's say, identify some factors or peculiarities that can cover the investment. And basically, this was the goal of this part of the report, where we tried to create some indicators that can enable to assess the feasibility and the sustainability of the investments and of possible vertical farming activities in EBRD countries. And in order to do so, we developed and applied, or better, we adapted these methodologies that was developed for our previous studies. And the methodologies was composed by these 6 steps. So basically, at the beginning, we identified 140 indicators that was related to technical, strategic, or financial requirements for vertical farming. Then we retrieved the data related to these indicators for all the countries from the World Bank database. Then we aggregated all these indicators in 13 macro categories that was then arranged in 3 macro areas regarding the productivity of agriculture and security, the economic and political implications, and the resource availability and social implications. Then we apply some statistical tools to this number in order to make them comparable. And finally, we get from this work 2 different indicators, one called the synthetic feasibility index and one the synthetic sustainability index for each country. Obviously, this methodology has some limits, and these are related, for example, to the fact that for each indicator, for each country, we only had one number. So this means that we were not so able to discriminate differences among different regions within countries, and sometimes this can be quite interesting because we can have very important differences. And and also the timeline. So basically, we considered in the value of the indicator for a specific timeline, but obviously then things happen. So this kind of number can change a lot year by year. And so basically, the final output of this part of the work was this kind of map. And this is the case of the synthetic visibility index, and where basically the darker the color, the higher the index. So for example, in this case, we can observe how the greatest part of the Eastern Europe countries, but also together with Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Kazakhstan, were classified as very favorable or favorable. So this means that we get higher results for the three macro areas investigated. So the one related to agriculture, the one related to political and economic implication, and the one related to the resource availability. And similarly, we also had another map for the sustainability index, and also in this case, the darker the color, the higher the index. And also in the case, we were able to discriminate countries where this kind of activities can be more sustainable as compared to other, where obviously the value was lower. So this means that the level of sustainability is lower. Obviously, to conclude, this analysis cannot, let's say, guarantee a sort of success of the investment, but is a tool for investors or for policymakers in order to plan the investment or to act in a specific area that can be improved in the different countries. And yeah, that's all from my side. We have one last speaker, which is Pietro Donini, Dr. Pietro Donini from the University of Barcelona.
Thank you very much, Giuseppina. Can you see my screen?
Yes, perfectly.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to having me to present our work on food loss and waste in urban agriculture. I'm actually a postdoc researcher in the UAB University in the group of SOSTER-IPRA, specializing in environmental assessment of the food system. So basically, what we have done, this is our framework, the food loss and waste, it's what is going out from the value chain, from the agriculture production to the wholesaler, retailer, and consumption. Food loss and waste is closely linked to the production technology and the distribution chain. What I would like to highlight that the production technology is going to influence both the quantity produced, as Francesco Orsini mentioned before, and the production control, so the forecast of the production. Here we can distinguish two different type of system: high intensity input agriculture system and low intensity input agriculture system. In the other hands, we have different type of distribution chain in the urban agriculture sector, where that is going to impact on the different drivers and causes of food loss and waste. What we found it's a formal chain and informal chain. Formal chain is what they are selling directly to the traditional market channel like wholesaler and retailer like a supermarket, and informal chain are the typical ones that go to farm market and specialized retailer shop. So what we have done, it's we were taking in consideration just the commercial urban agriculture activities that have more than 1 year of activity and then derive more than 50% of their profits by cultivation, processing, and sale of horticulture product. We gather a huge number of initiatives 16 from high external input, and 108 from low external input, to take into consideration the different urban agriculture business model defined by the University of Liège. The different interviews were conducted online, and we try to quantify the food loss from the harvest to the distribution. So here you can see the different type of system that we take in consideration. That is very important to assess the percentage of food waste based on the and in comparison also to the annual production. The food quantity losses are halved for in the harvest and post-harvest step for the vertical system in comparison to the open air on soil system. Where there is a skip of the retail part and the wholesale part, there is also a reduction of 5% because there is no intermediaries between the producer and the consumer. There are different innovative production systems that can help to reduce the food waste, and particularly the overproduction. In the vertical farming system, in particular, there is high product marketability and yield. There is the possibility to predict plant performance, so to try to stick the production to the selling unit. There is lower losses, especially to the external variability, especially natural factor. Also the shorter value chain help to decrease these losses because there is a better relationship between the stakeholder in the value chain, and also there is a reduction time between the plants that is going to sell when they arrive to the consumer. So this one, in a certain way, reducing the possibility of food losses during the value chain. And also there is a sort of supply agreement with retailer and consumer, specifically when we are talking about to the informal value chain. So there is a decrease of quality. There is a sort of commitment of the consumer to accept also products that have no commercial quality. Here we also present in our work the different type of factor that are going to decrease the food loss and waste during the different step of the value chain. And on the right, you can see a graph that is going to show you how is distributed the food loss and waste during the value chain. What it's very interesting to point out that in the conventional system, most of the food waste are produced in the primary production. In the other hand, in the urban agriculture system, the food loss and waste are spread in the different step of the value chain. That means that in a certain way, the urban agriculture initiative should try to manage in a sustainable way the organic waste and the waste that are generating during the step of post-harvest, retail and packaging and transport. This is all. Thank you very much for your attention. If there are any questions, I'll be able to answer it.
Thank you. I think that now it's time for questions. I don't know if people attending online, there is one question from Will Santini, and is asking what are the critical factors for scaling up at global level these production models? And I don't know if maybe this is a good question for Professor Gisacchi that took care of the economic part of the study.
Sorry, but there is some echo, so I didn't understand really your your
Okay,
question.
Yeah, the question is, what are the critical factors for scaling up at global level these production models?
What kind of?
I don't know if you can see the chat. On your
Maybe I should
screen.
read okay, I'm gonna read
Yeah,
it.
so maybe you can read the question.
Okay. So I would like to say that some of the models are already in place and already scaled up. For example, the model concerning the cost reduction, for example, Gotham Greens. There, they have already a big surfaces with greenhouse, so they knew what kind of surface will be enough for a good return on investment. Sometimes the surface, and this is the example of BIG, for example, which is an experimental. There, the farm is on the rooftop, and it's about 2,000 square meters. And it's really too small to have a return on investment. So there, I think for greenhouse, for example, on a rooftop, if you are below half an hectare, it will be difficult to, so the scaling up must be for half an hectare, otherwise it will be difficult to be economically viable. And there are a lot of other factors that will make it economically viable. If you decrease the heat by connecting your greenhouse with the heat loss of a building, for example. So this is a kind of data that I can share here. But it's really depending at the end on the model, and I gave you an example for the reduction cost reduction, sorry.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know if there is someone want to add something. Yeah, maybe I will. Okay.
Yeah, no, just speaking with companies, a big issue that here is that especially the deficit reflected in the price, is that the majority of this in Europe of these parks, the high tech ones that are in urban environment, are not considered agriculture. So that means when you compare prices of product, you are comparing apples with not even the oranges, but really with, I don't know, the paintings. Because one is subsidized up to 70%, and the other one is the real price. So to me, it was very important to understand, okay, what would be the zero subsidy cost of kilogram of salad? And it's actually up to 70 euros. And the other one is absurdly subsidized. So when we also look at the development of these technologies in agriculture, we also have to think that you need to have an harmonized process that looks at progress, not at the latest fashionable trend in what is considered the right approach to agriculture and what is not considered, which is still very much biasing the picture of demand. And we have no means to exit this bias because simply the data are not going to support it. So that's to me at least is a very important element to discuss at the policy level to standardize and therefore also allow this technology to be better scaled down at the different levels, which is already happening.
And I think this comment is also related to the next questions, because the next question is, from a policy point of view, what is the role of national and local governments to create enabling environments for this kind of systems? Maybe Francesco?
For this one?
Yeah.
So Certainly, this was already introduced by Jacob. We need some common standards that are both related to the production protocols. We need human farms to be able to access subsidies if we want to make a sound comparison. This is often not the case because the urban farms are not in so-called agricultural land. This is one of the issues. And sometimes they also integrate some other issues that are related, for instance, to access to water or land that is different in a city as compared to what you normally find in a rural environment. Cities, municipalities, or local governments can ease the growth of the sector by thinking about all the elements that will affect production. If we are in a city, we need to get agricultural input to the farm. We need to be able to use water for irrigation, but also to discharge water. And so we need to think about protocols that can be applied at municipal level. What we can also think is to valorize the interaction that comes from agriculture to the city, because we can close loop, we can reuse organic waste that is generated in the city to generate nutrients. We can improve the thermal efficiency of buildings whenever we have a greenhouse envelope on top. We can purify the air if we exchange the air from the building to the greenhouse and so on. So all these elements are needed. Something else that is also important is building codes. So it's not easy to build a greenhouse on top of a building. We often do not have a common regulation, although some example exists. Singapore or Paris, for instance, have developed programs to support building integrated agriculture. So this is also something that should come.
Yes, sure. Yes, yeah.
Just one thing to add is this is again a very good example in my opinion that where if we in the future invest only in the science perspective, so I want to invest in salads, but then overall there is no investment on research and development, on infrastructure, on policy and things, then simply the investment will not happen. Now, investment happens in environment where the enabling conditions are there. If we don't ensure the enabling conditions, then there is no point of mega discussion about how many billions of dollars are needed because of conditions.
Yes, as I agree, environmental is the enabling conditions, but also I think it was mentioned that the market also. I think there's a pull there that is needed and it's not yet there. I think the market differentiation, the price differentiation, and the capacity of showing the benefits versus the drawbacks, but also the benefits to get market from the market. Because at the end, you have to sell the product. And if there's no market that accepts the product because it's too high, the price is too high, or maybe the mentality it's not healthy enough or whatever, it is very important.
Yeah, Francesco, please. I'll introduce this. Yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to add something on the financing part. So there are a lot of instruments that institutions can use at the first moment, at the first stage, when you have these great companies coming into the market. And we use the term blended finance. So a portion of the financing is on a commercial basis, and another portion is with donors or other investors totally for this company, right? So maybe we can enter an investment with the company and, we don't have to procure it. We don't take the risk because the portion is covered by funds that, they don't have to return to the bank in simple words. However, this can only for a period, right? So we could enter a lot of these engagements with companies. I mean, you see the startup works, where the first funding rounds, are basically paid by angel investors, but at some point, we want to see that there is sustainable. So when we look at these companies, we think when it is that moment in time, when the company can actually be fully commercial. And this is very complicated to understand because this market is very specific and city market, right? So to have an average of this investment and to have a projection for a specific company in a market is already difficult, but when the market is there, again, of course, that's a lot about, what is the consumer willingness to pay in euros, in this cities, it's really complicated. So although there are instruments, we still need to come to a point where this is commercially viable if we want to see an urban agriculture system. We need to just sorry that I jumped in, but it was the finance part. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I, thanks. This brings to also one of the results of the study. When we developed the study, one of the experts involved, Pedersen, did a comparative assessment of prices of products that were coming from traditional supply chains like rural greenhouses and products coming from non-vertical farms. At the time of the study, that was 2022, looking at 29 retailers from 11 countries, vertically farmed salad was at a price that was 70% higher than traditionally produced salad. Then over the years, we have gone through data and updated them. And for instance, last year in Sweden, we observed that the vertically farmed salad was even cheaper than salads coming from traditional greenhouse production. I think recent updates also for Italy is that the increase in price in vertically farmed salad is around 30%. That is 20%. So it's decreasing over time. As we see the technology to be uptaken, energy costs decrease, and the overall cost of the product tends to become more comparable to the traditional supply system.
Can I just add one thing? And one thing to add is also the context. If you are a Nordic country and you are importing products, then it makes a big difference, especially when you add the economic cycle. When it's Italy and salads are produced by Barberia, then it's a different competition. But because of the availability of technology, capacity, and infrastructure and zero policy, Italy is one of the pioneering countries in terms of vertical today. Then will they be successful? I have no idea. But it's very interesting to me at least to see how, when you do have an authority to insist on the labor condition, the best final is you really have emerging investments that are possible. Investing means where my function stops. It's okay, what do I need to do to make this investment possible? That's something very technical. And that makes a lot about the fact that you have the conditions to test new ways to move forward. And prices are demonstrating the decrease in price is showing that this is actually happening together with improved market energy and the rest.
I can add also something. When we talk about technology adaptation and thinking about vertical farming, what we should also consider is that basically from a knowledge point of view, let's say, this sector is quite new as compared to greenhouse sector. So we have a history of research of 100 years related to greenhouse, while we are starting now in trying to understand how vertical farm is working. And so basically, if till now we were adapting technologies already existing for greenhouse to vertical farming, now we are, let's say, by using knowledge on the specific growing system, we are also, let's say, being more able to use these technologies for this sector. And I think that this is also one of the reasons because the cost of the products are becoming close. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have some questions from the floor, but if there's anybody from our presenters who would like to also respond, maybe just like have a look in case someone would like to also respond to the question that was raised.
I don't know if someone of the speakers online want to add something to these answers. No? Okay, just in case we have another question from the room.
Yeah, thank you. Now, I have a question that is not exactly to who, but it's related to the product, because while we hear a lot about the products and people try to produce both CapEx and OpEx, do you see a trend in applying the technology to products that have a much higher value? Because we talk about salads, but you really mentioned about products where you can absorb the cost. I heard a bit of pharmaceutical plants, but maybe you have other examples. A bit from you.
Yeah, it could be for me, but eventually King is, you can start and then I can also integrate. Inga, are you? Well, I can start. Well, there is a reason why salad is the main product coming from vertical farms. It is easier to grow, it's short cycle, short size, no need for pollination, you can have it in multiple layers. So, and there is also another important element that is the high harvest index. That means the amount of biomass that we market out of the total biomass we produce. So that's why most growers, and we should remember also the fact that in many cases, vertical farmers come from the very different backgrounds from agriculture. So they have no experience in agriculture, they start with the production and leaf vegetables were the easiest way to get an income out of it. So today we see that the sector is moving. Some companies are already producing strawberries from quite a few years. Some companies are concentrating on medicinal plants. When we look at the vertical farming environment, and if we think about quality, very often we tend, as consumers, we tend to associate quality with traditional cultivation system. That's quite of a bucolic approach to agriculture. But in reality, quality is the organoleptic properties, it's safety issues, is the nutritional content, and all these elements are affected by the environment. So in a vertical farm, when we can control all the elements of the environment, that's when we could maximize it. Which in reality doesn't mean that vertically farmed products is always of higher quality, because we also need to know how to maximize these properties. But we can do that, and it has been shown. There is a general lack of comparative assessment between open field or greenhouse agriculture and vertical farming, because it's very difficult to standardize condition. But over time, as we see more and more reports coming on vertical farm products, we can see that we can maximize some rates, we can increase safety, can reduce the microbial load, increase the shelf life, as Pietro was also introducing before, and this overall leads to increased quality, so it might as well increase prices.
If I may add, I mean, just to go more precisely in the manner, pharmaceuticals is where the market is also moving. Because you can standardize the amount of the plant. Because you grow the plant to get that specific intent from farm. And by this, no, I just took the photo just to stress one more time on the point of research and development. It has never been researched. So today the private sector needs to massively invest in catching that with that. A country that invests in that will make the private sector immediately.
Yes, I mentioned your name. I don't know if you want to intervene on crop diversification in vertical farms.
Sorry, I didn't hear the name, hear the question. I hear my name weekly. So yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Sorry?
The question. So the question was about crop diversification. How can we move from lettuce to other crops in vertical farms?
The question is about crop diversification?
Yes, in vertical farms. It's in the chat.
Oh, the question was about crop diversification in vertical farm. More or it's about how diverse it is now.
Move from lettuce to other crops.
For at the current stage, yeah, now I see the question. At the current stage, it is indeed a pity that the main crop are still leafy vegetables, as due to the high energy cost, and there's only the only lighting that could provide the source for photosynthesis comes from lamps, so there's no natural sunlight. So the current aim is try to make energy use as efficient as possible, and leafy crops are compared to the fruity crops are the ones that have the highest harvest index. By harvest index, we mean that the amount of product that we harvested can be to a proportion that we can sold. So the leafy vegetables, almost all the leaves that we harvested can be sold. So in this case, from the financial point of view, the lettuce or the leafy vegetables in general is the main crop. But then how can we move from the leafy crops to other crops like the fruit crops? And there we need to change the plant structure, or we need to change our management skills. So also there's the plant breeding highly involved. So what we want for for example, tomato production in the vertical farm is that we would like to have the vegetative part as small as possible and the fruit proportion as higher as possible. And we also want to keep this year-round production. So for the tomato, for example, if we have a dwarf tomato, that is also what our group is currently working on. It has a compact size, and if the and that allows the cultivation in multi layers. And in this way, we could minimize the size so the space become more efficient if we grow dwarf tomato. And also the growing cycle of dwarf tomato is shorter than the high-value tomatoes. So we can actually harvest the dwarf tomato like we harvested the lettuce. We can do it several rounds per year. Then in a fixed time, we harvest all the fruit trusses from dwarf tomato, and in this way, for a year-round production per period, we always have a peak, and in this way, we can also ensure a year-round production. And for the other features, for example, if the plants, how can the plants adapt to the lighting system to the vertical farm? In the vertical farm, how can they adapt from the energy saving point of view? We would like to provide a lower intensity of light. So how can plants adapt to that? And these kind of things, we need plant breeding to get involved. So in conclusion, if there's still a long way, in my opinion, to move from the leafy vegetables to fruity crops or even to staple crops in the future. But we are working on it, and we with gaining more experience in the cultivation or get more familiar with this vertical farm system, we gradually know more features or more point that the plants need, or we know more differences in the vertical farm system compared to the conventional cultivation system. Then by knowing more about these features, we can breed for vertical farm. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I saw that there is a raised hand by Professor Gizaki. I don't know if you want to add something on this.
Yes, I would like to add something, because if we consider vertical farming as total indoor farming with multi-layer and multi-layer system and also soilless system, of course, and as it was already mentioned by Ying and you, we cannot do everything because of the space, but there are also technical problems because not all the crops, not all the plants are able to be cropped in a hydroponic system, in soilless systems. But the most important point for me is economic evaluation. We did a study and we published a study in Horticulture about comparing different leafy to medicinal plants in terms of economic viability. And we never had a return on investment with lettuce under our system in a container, so total indoor, even to a multi-layer. We did with a medicinal plant. We had a return on investment. So we have to be very careful about, of course, technical feasibility, but also economic feasibility. And in my opinion, if we want to diversify, we should also pay attention to plants of really high value, economic value, like plant producing molecule for medicine or paramedical application and so on. This is what I want to say.
Thank you very much. I don't know if there are just comment on that, and I think it's very important because we need to differentiate between medicinal plants and definitely pharmaceuticals. It's very probably more profitable, but if we're still talking about food systems, it's another thing, and we need to differentiate that because that becomes a pharmaceutical business and that becomes a food systems business, which is a different thing. And definitely one is more difficult to get profitability, and that's the food systems. And I think it's very interesting because when you talk about research, etc., research and breeding, plant breeding, have been for years looking at productivity, and then they started looking at maybe nutrition. Now they have to have a different mindset if we want to do some plant breeding for vertical farming and urban agriculture, because there the whole system of food to shoot is different, the life cycle and so on. So this is and this will take years. Of course, the technology is there to shorten that period, but this is something that is actually a change in the mindset, a change in where we put our research, and of course, it's not all the plant breeding go in this direction, but at least something should go in that direction. And I think that's an interesting area for the universities here. So, yeah, there is a huge work to be done there. So I don't know if there are any other questions from the chat. If someone wants to add something, this is the time. Or maybe if we have some more questions from, please. Just come here so everyone can hear you.
So thank you very much for the presentations. So in the last years, we have seen that many threats undergone in the vertical farm industry, so the semiconductors crisis with the COVID, then the energy cost with the war in Ukraine. And I think that maybe in the future there may be other threats that can affect the vertical farm industry. And I wanted to know for you if there is any that is more real than others, and if there is any solution or better intervention that we can adopt or we should adopt. Thank you.
Well, I don't know what will happen more. I mean, I think if something more will happen, then I don't think everybody, even the women's inside that. But I think, like flipping the coin, look at it, like everybody was extremely unprepared and very happy and enthusiastic. They think energy was free and everything. We started political project. Then it hit the fan, and then energy, oh my goodness, we haven't thought about it. If you look at when the Ukraine invasion started now, already the energy efficiency has increased. So I see these as a dimension among the many, I hope it's the single dimension. And these are actually, looking backwards, very welcome, because these have contributed in improving this. And that's, I think, what is great. You face an issue, you find a solution. And again, EBRD saw the thing, put the money, we highlighted the problem. Now what you have is a list of course, it's not comprehensive, and you put comprehensive, but you can see that the number of issues are very there. And that's a good part of it. So the fact that you adapt to the issue. And about preventing, again, to me, there is only one way to prevent these things to happen, is make sure that your universities are ready, make sure that the private sector can have access to good technical assistance. And if you aim always, I'm not talking about sustainability, circularity, all these things, I'm not a big fan of jargon. But if you keep looking at optimizing and make it economically and financially viable, then you have most of the keys in operation. Then you have to adapt to what will come next. But at least you're prepared.
Okay. So I think climate change, I think nobody talks about climate change, but I think in America, this is something that's going to make us look at vertical farming of any kind of products more and more viable. There will need to be different incentive systems coming from the EU government system, simply because food security used to be essential part of every government's planning, and it's becoming so again. You guys have seen because of the war in Ukraine, because of the energy prices, this all became really essential. We have countries which produce food, and unfortunately, Ukraine, which is a basket of food for Europe, is right now struggling a lot. Plus Russia, we don't want to buy food from them, apparently. And then we have Northern African countries which import food. And there are lots of people there. They need to eat. They either will come and want to live in our backyards, or we help them to manage it better. So all those questions will drive where the food is produced, how it is produced. You mentioned Nordic countries and production of food there, but the same applies to the super hot countries, the Arabic countries, and they are looking at producing food. You have 12 months a year production, and that's a question. Can I make two more points? On the automation, the vertical farming is this business where there's a lot of money that needs to go into establishing the system at the very beginning. So there are quite a few people who we've seen systems which were very much automated, but they require a lot of money going into it. And that often looks like a feather that breaks camel's back. If you invest a lot of money in the modern technology and you automate just produce salads, right? You spend a lot of money putting solar panels, transferring what we get for free, sun, into energy and then growing things on the ground. If you invest too much money, that's going to cost a lot of money. That may make this all unviable. So we need to strike a fine balance between how much money we invest in producing food, which is not something that people can or are willing to pay a lot of money for. Which brings me to the last point. The investors in vertical farming have been private equity funds and venture capitals. And I think that sort of creates slightly wrong incentive systems, because ultimately when you set up a vertical farm, it will produce 1,500 tons of salad every year in, year out. And you relatively quickly know what is the return you will make on it. And this will not be 50% IRR. It will not be some crazy amounts. It will generate decent returns, but not something that private equity firms like doing. So just like producing food on the field, which is onset of risk, vertical farming is profitable, will be profitable, but will not generate huge returns. And that's the mindset that needs to be taken into consideration by investors. Those who think that they will take their technology and start selling it into Middle East or into Asia, I think perhaps, but that's a high risky strategy. I think it's better to understand that this is going to be a manufacturing plant that manufactures food at a certain return, and that should be something that we should be happy with, rather than somehow expect that we are going to generate huge amounts of money, which I think if anybody followed the press, in America, they raised billions for vertical farming. Everybody sort of got high on this money rush. And in the end, they have not succeeded because the expectations were way too high. So I think it's all about balancing things out. But I think there is a great future in vertical farming, and we would love to support it. And I did like the presentation that showed the countries where we operate. There is a need. Obviously, they have very short seasons for growing their own produce. So vertical farming can offer an alternative to imports, which is important. I still need to understand why Turkey, but I'm happy about that as well.
Yeah, you have to come here. And let's not talk about hybridization of the vertical with the conventional farming.
Thank you for the presentation. I just want to ask that what are the most promising technological advancements in vertical farming that could make it more accessible and sustainable for small scale and subsistence farmers?
So how can the technology adapt also to smaller production, or there are some examples. They are emerging over time. There is, as we introduced before, there is this African Vertical Farming Association. I've seen some low-tech vertical farming systems being implemented in Nigeria, for instance, where you have some quite simple agronomic technologies which can integrate lighting. Luckily, in some places, light is not an issue, so you can also have multiple times using solar radiation, or eventually integrating partially lighting only on the lower part of the canopy. One of the first vertical farming companies in Singapore about 10 years ago was growing inside greenhouses on multiple racks. So there are ways to make it simpler and less expensive. Obviously, as the technology is being uptaken, the cost for building the system becomes lower, and the energy cost becomes lower as well. So I would say, and this is something that also I wanted to add before, vertical farming is not the magical recipe. We cannot think about vertical farming taking over agriculture. We can think about vertical farming integrating current agriculture. There will be places in the world where it will be a sustainable option. We already see there are some reports eventually might can also integrate on this. When we produce lettuce in a vertical farm in Sweden, tends to be more environmentally friendly than importing it from Southern Europe. So it depends really on what you can do locally and what is your alternative. We also the possibility to integrate vertical farming in some of the hottest locations, like the Arab Peninsula, came in before. So we have a place where it is very difficult to have sustainable greenhouse production. Normally, you need to have a semi-closed greenhouse or closed greenhouse if you want to produce lettuce in order to save water, but then this comes at high energy cost. In these locations, it might be that vertical farming becomes a sustainable option or a sustainable alternative, at least in certain periods of the year.
I'll just add something that is not directly, but in fact, all these innovations are coming mostly from the field. That means the smallholder farmers have their own ways of innovating and adapting. Technology helps in expanding that. So it's not, we're always thinking of vertical farming as something that is very much technology-based, which is true now. But originally, I think the innovations in the fields are the most important things, because that's where all the ideas come from. But then you have to adapt to what you can do and then enhance. And technology helps to bring that. So there are definitely small-scale solutions to the smallholder farms. It will not be comparative to several $1 million investments. They are smaller investments, but they are in their ways innovations that could be, reducing the dependency on outdoor conventional type of grow farms. And I'm sure in India, for example, there are many ideas and work with them. We're doing a lot of energy-saving technologies that are very simple at the farm level. And this could be enhanced with the new technologies that are able to make them more, high-tech thing with a minimal cost or reduced cost. So let's not forget that the smallholders are actually part of the whole system, and they are the ones who actually started a lot of the innovations from the field.
And India is one of the booming countries for vertical farming, not just in the shade. And we also interviewed a number of companies from India and Bangladesh. Where the number of smallholders is growing, so not only energy, but it's for interesting.
Okay, it seems that we do not have more questions from the chat. I don't know if we have more questions from the room. No? Maybe Wafa, you want to wrap up and we can move to the conclusion.
Thank you so much. I would like just to thank everybody for this very interesting session of presentations. I've really read the report, we discussed the report, but this is always it's always interesting to learn more, and I've learned quite a lot from these presentations and discussions. We see that there's a great potential and there's a great work that we still need to do to enhance that. And I think important is to clarify our vision of what we understand as the vertical farming. Because everybody understands it probably in a different way, and it's important to make sure that we all have a place in that vertical farming arena. And we can improve and enhance on it, from the extreme high-tech to the less high-tech, where many people can be most valuable. And it's extremely important, as Jaap always insists, it's an environment, it's an enabling environment, whether it's policies, protocols, markets, and all the and science and technology that supports the development of that sector, and definitely finance and investments. And we all have to work together, hand in hand, to be able to promote that for the sake of food security and enhanced food systems. Talking about FAO, we remain open and ready to support that and continue the work on that vertical farming area, because it's part of our mandate. And we have colleagues who are also like UNIBO and the other colleagues in FAO who have been contributing with us on that. And we really thank all the universities, especially University of Bologna, for supporting that and working very hard with us, but all the universities that have presented today, all our colleagues who have done a great deal in assessing and bringing forward some of the very important information and contributions to the thinking. And definitely we would like to thank EBRD, who has been the actual motivator for us all to move on with that. It's a great pleasure to be here, and I think only with our partnership and working together we can all move forward to the great work. So we're looking forward to continuing that partnership, and I think you, the young generation, is like you are our future, so you are the most important part of this whole thing. Your innovation, your ideas, your working, your motivation and passion to work in that is very, very important to move everybody forward. Before I close, I just wanted to tell you that you can pass by and take a small card where we can scan the present
The QR code.
The QR code to get the whole publication out. So please just pass by and have start taking the big thing, and we're saving some of the paper for the environment. So thanks a lot, and hope to continue the work with you. Thank you.
For those that are here, if you want a certificate, just come over and sign it, please.
C'è una tecnica, faccio una penna. Qua cosa devo fare?
Basta che chiudi tu.
Ma interrompo, arresto? La registrazione? Interrompi, no? La registrazione arresta.
Poi fai